I don't have any shoes. I'll admit it. I will brag. Those players did not just go and whip that ass for us to be like, oh, good game. No, we whipped your ass. We took $800,000. Now we're partying with it.
Yeah, who cares if you're in the Power 5 conference if you don't win it, ever? Or you don't beat any of the teams in it? Like, what's the point of that? Wouldn't you rather win the conference and say, like, hey, my team is good, than lose the conference and say, well, our conference is good?
Well, I'll tell you what, I got two teams that got me gassed up. It's going to be a hell of a battle. Be like two dogs fighting over a milk bun.
Look, they don't call me Tip for nothing. And my tip is, look out for the group of 5 this season. They've been taking it to the Power 5 year after year.
The only quarterbacks that ever get any love are from the Power 5. I could easily list off the top group of 5 quarterbacks I would rather have than those guys. I would be willing to bet that at least one of them is going to be in the running for the Heisman this year.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 6 of the Group of 5 Guys podcast. I am your host, Matt Sprouse. Glad to be back in my home little office set up here after I weathered the storm of a Category 4 hurricane from the balcony of a luxury condo on the beach. So I am glad to be back. We are missing one member of the Group of 5 Guys tonight, Jesse Swagbear Grisham. Unfortunately for us and for all of you listening and viewing, we're not going to get to hear anything from him. He's visiting family, but we'll hopefully catch up with him later on in the night, and we'll definitely have some verbal abuse for him while he can't be on here to defend himself. But Jeff Murphy, it's good to see you as always. How are we this evening?
Outstanding, Sprouse. Week 1 is in the books, and boys, it was a great one. Had some great wins. Teams that we thought that looked good week 0 ended up looking pretty good week 1. Some teams that we were pretty high on didn't have too good of showings, I think so. But we got a great show lined up for tonight, and can't wait to get to it.
Yes, sir. Zeke Anderson, as always. How are we?
How about it, fellas? I had a great weekend. Basically call it cutting grass, baby. Them parlays were hitting left and right. I'm feeling good about myself going into week 2.
Talk about building your bankroll.
Unbelievable. Hey, Tyler Tip, how are we, sir?
I'm doing great, Sprouse. Not doing as good as your boy Dustin Crum, though, probably today.
Yeah.
Dustin Crum, the hashtag Dustin Crum for Heisman is dead. It's dead. It's no more.
Well, now hold on. Now, everybody just hold on. If his Heisman campaign is over, then so is DJ Uigalele. So is De'Aaron King. So is Sam Howell. So is, let's see, who else that we were hyping up all preseason looked terrible. So if we're going to get Dustin Crum out of there, hey, I'm with you. He did not. I mean, I've been talking that guy up for 3 months, and then they got there. He threw for like 85 yards. I told Grisham he was throwing for 5 touchdowns. He got barely completed 5 passes, but hey,
tough game down there, man. Tough game.
Yeah, look, I mean, it happens to the best of us, but nothing's as bad as telling the whole world that Tulsa was a dark horse in the Group of 5.
Yikes!
Goodness gracious. I tell you what, I had a little parlay, a little piggyback off old Zeke Anderson. You know, I go to the old swag bear. I said, You're a Tulsa fan. They're dark horse. What do you think? They get a cover. UC Davis, no problem. Lock. Okay. I said, Grisham, you sure? Yeah. Murph, that's easy money. Put it in. Lock it in, right? 15 minutes before game time, old Sprousey goes, you guys know that 6 of their players are suspended and for the whole game, and another 3 are suspended for the first half. And I call Grisham. I'm like, you're going to tell somebody there's a locked bet and like half their starters are out? He goes, are you serious? Oh man, all the rest of my parlay hit, and it cost me a nice chunk of change. But
yeah, man, we had a tough. Well, Zeke had a good weekend. We had a tough one in the betting and prediction world, but we got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to look back at some of the week 1 games, look forward to some of the week 2 games, and then we've got a great interview with two of my buddies, two Air Force Academy football legends, Jason Kons and Nick DeJulio. They're going to talk a little Air Force Navy, talk a little Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and maybe throw old Sprouse under the bus a little bit on some stuff. But we got a great show coming up for you. Don't forget, you can always watch this podcast on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Group of Five Guys. Join the Facebook group, Group of Five Guys. And then you can DM or email us any questions you might have for us or our guest. It's just group-of-5guys@gmail.com. So excited to get to the show here. I mean, we had 5 Group of 5 teams beat, like we say, quote, Power 5 teams this weekend. It wasn't the 5 we thought. Well, a couple of them, but I mean, you had UTSA. I think we all liked beating Illinois. That was good to see. And like we talked about it last week, they're going to change that narrative on old Nebraska now.
Yep.
After Illinois beats them, it's this and that. And then, but UTSA beat Illinois. So now Nebraska, fire Scott Frost. It's amazing how that goes. But I was impressed with UTSA. I mean, I had them. I think we all had them as a dark horse. But
I mean, we're going to talk about Heisman's here. Let's go ahead and put Sincere McCormick up there. Let's get him on the list. They're giving him the ball. He had 31 carries on Saturday, 117 yards.
That's a workhorse, man.
It is. He didn't get in the end zone, but dude, they rushed the ball for 217 yards.
Yeah,
between the 3 backs. So they can pound it down there, man.
They're pounding it, and also they had Zachary Franklin, receiver, 10 catches, 155 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem, man, in Conference USA, and it's not often you see a back, take the rock 30+ carries anymore. I mean, that's like early '90s football right there.
Big time. I like that.
After watching UAB play last week, that I cannot wait for that UAB UTSA game. Cannot wait. That's going to be such a good game.
Yeah.
Yep. And then two of us will get to see them live and direct when they play Western Kentucky. So I'm excited to see Sincere McCormick and his Cavs. October 9th.
Yeah. And then you also had, friend of the show, Micah James and Utah State. They beat Washington State. I thought Utah State was going to be, a couple years for Coach Anderson to get them where they want to be, but it ain't a bad start now.
That's a big time win. It's a big
time upset.
Yeah.
I think, what was that? The line on that game was 17 and a half.
I think it was something right around there.
To come out and beat them straight up is big time. So fired up. Congrats to Micah James.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And then another one that I think we all picked Duke last week. Charlotte, man. Charlotte looked really good. They
showed up. Yeah.
They looked really good. I mean, Conference USA, I want to get to them, the conference as a whole here in a little bit, but Charlotte looked good. You beat an in-state Power 5 school at home. That's a freaking program builder, man. That's gonna, and I'm glad we're heading up there in a couple weeks because hopefully they'll have some momentum and have a nice crowd on that Friday night game we're going to.
Well, you can pull probably a couple of recruits too. I mean, if a kid's on the fence between Duke and Charlotte.
Yep.
Oh, we beat them. We beat them last year. Why would you want to go there? So good win for Charlotte. They definitely screwed a couple of our parlays up.
Yeah, I was cussing them all weekend, but really, if you look back at them, they busted 2 big parlays of mine. But if you look back on it, Charlotte came out with a lot of energy, and it was exciting to see. They came out from the beginning, they scored, they kept that momentum, and they just kept running it down the field on Duke. And excited for those guys. Congrats to them.
Yeah, and then you had what was maybe the least predicted Group of 5 win was that Northern Illinois beating Georgia Tech, and way to let them hang. Yeah. For the head coach there and going for 2 on that game.
Love that call. Absolutely love that call there at the end. Score with less than a minute left, close to 30 seconds left in the game. We're going for 2. We're going to go for the win. And Tyrus Ritchie with an incredible. If you haven't seen the 2-point conversion catch, the throw and catch, Tyrus Ritchie had a great catch with that 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and I'll say any Northern Illinois coaches, if you're watching, Coach Wimbo, you recruited me when I was in high school to go to Liberty, actually. So we'd love to have you on the pod. Maybe sliding the DMs a little bit there, Coach. But they had another Mountain West, another team we were all high on is Nevada, and we did do a Twitter poll. It is Nevada. It's not Nevada.
Okay.
So I think the
Nevada.
locals say Nevada.
The hell with them. It's Nevada.
Hey boys, breaking news. This is just in. Carson Strong is good at football.
He ain't bad.
Had himself a game against Cal.
Yep.
I think he's got a strong Heisman campaign maybe coming up. Maybe we need to get a hashtag going.
Strong for Heisman, man. No, he looked good. Went into Cal over there up at Berkeley and put some good numbers up, man. He was 22 of 39, 312 yards passing, 2 tugs. That's always kind of the biggest thing when you get these group of 5 playing these quote Power 5 schools. How are they going to fare up front? And I tell you what, that offensive line for Nevada, they held their own and gave Carson Strong the time he needed to throw some big time balls.
Yeah, and then you know who else looked good? They end up losing, but Fresno State, man, they freaking had them on the ropes.
They did, man.
And they couldn't quite pull it off.
Pulling for that one.
But Oregon is. Again, I hate to use the whole Power 5 thing, but they're supposed to be now one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country this year.
Yep.
And Fresno took them to the wire, man. And I think we knew. And there wasn't. You'll never have the Oregon was overlooking a lesser team because, like we talked about last week, Fresno putting on the show in week 0 was Oregon was looking to make a statement in that game. And it's a great win for Oregon. I know the narrative won't be that. The narrative will be that they took a group of 5 school down to the wire, but Fresno looks pretty good. That's another, man. Mountain West is tough. Some tough teams.
Yeah, it is. Jay Kaner, man, that we said last week, this is going to be a big test for them. Are they real? Are they pretenders or are they the real deal? And I think they're the real deal, man.
Yeah.
And he put up, again, a great stat line, 30 of 43, 298, 1 passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown.
It's not bad.
So does Fresno move up a little bit in the Mountain West rankings as far as the Group of 5 goes? So I know we were strong on San Jose State, still are.
Yeah,
but Fresno, game. If those two teams, if Fresno State and San Jose State could play, that'd be a pretty sweet shootout right there.
Yeah, San Jose State, I know the score ended up being a little bit out of hand, but that game was 13-7 going into the fourth quarter there with Southern Cal. And they, that's one of those games, kind of a typical game when you look at when a group of 5 school loses by what looks like 3 or 4 touchdowns, but you kind of just get one mistake, kind of domino effect, and then you're out of it.
You just get worn down too. Yeah. Say what you want to say. Size does matter. Yeah. And you just kind of get beat up there in the fourth quarter a little bit. But and Starkle didn't look like the guy from week 0, which you're going against tougher competition. Everyone's faster, everyone's bigger. They're going to give you better looks defensively. So, but it was a good test for them. They're ranked 15th in the country. USC was.
Yeah.
So, you hang with them until the fourth quarter, can't pull it out. I still think, I don't think anything really changes. I'll tell you what, I called it last week. I thought they were going to win. They didn't, but they should have. Boise State.
Yeah.
They look pretty good for three and a half quarters.
Dude, that game was like, if you were a fan of either team, it had to be so frustrating because both teams had a chance to put it away. And neither of them quite could. And you got to give, dude, that place had like 3 hours delay because of lightning. And I think a lot of people probably left, but that place was still rocking late. It was 1 or 2 in the morning when that last interception went down. And my bounce house was jumping, man.
Hell, think about if you had doubled down on App State, UCF parlay, and you've got 500 bones on the line and Boise State's coming out and smoking that ass the first 3 quarters. And then I went to bed thinking I was down. I doubled down on UCF second half. I went to bed thinking I was down $700. I woke up a happy man. I had no idea that UCF had won that game until I woke up.
Yeah, man.
I was the opposite. I took a live bet. I was like, dude, Boise State, they're firing all cylinders. I said, I gotta take this action. And then as soon as that third quarter started, they scored right before halftime. UCF did.
Yep.
And then they just came out in the third quarter, and it was just it was like a light switch. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for Boise, it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back from that because that's a tough one to take.
Yeah.
And then for UCF, I think they got some defensive concerns for sure, which they've had the last couple of years. But I mean, if they're at home and their offense is humming like that, man, they're tough to beat. I mean, they're athletic, they're fast. That was a good game, and I mean, I hate to talk about it. We had two Louisiana schools that really, really let us down.
Yeah.
You look at
it wasn't Tulane.
No,
Carry
man.
on.
Hey,
Carry
Tulane. Give them the that's another person whose Heisman campaign's done, by the way. Tip. Swag Bear's boy Spencer Rattler.
Gone.
I mean,
gone.
I mean, what are we doing?
Michael Pratt for Tulane played better than
he sure did.
Rattler did.
He sure
Big
did.
time.
And I mean, Tulane had a chance to win that game too. And you know, if that game's at Tulane where it was supposed to be,
I was just about to
little
go
home
there.
cooking, baby.
yeah,
That may go another way.
that's right.
Michael Pratt comes up half a yard short on that 4th and 10 run. Oh my
Yep.
my gosh! If that drive could have been extended right there, and I honestly I think they scored. They had all the momentum.
And that's a guy that wasn't really on a ton of guys. I mean, he wasn't on my radar as far as the top group of 5 QB, but putting up that against Oklahoma, 27 of 44, 296, three passing touchdowns and a running touchdown against what were they? What does Oklahoma rank? Like they're top 5, right?
2.
Yeah, second. I mean,
All
come
the
on.
game day guys have them in the natty.
Yeah, at Oklahoma.
Yep.
Good for Tulane, man.
And just to throw this stat out there, and just with that incredible stat line you just said, Murph, he also did fumble 3 times. So
yeah,
imagine if you take 1,
turn the
2
ball
of
over.
those fumbles away. That like what this game could we could just be sitting here talking about Tulane upset them by double digits. I mean,
Were all 3 of those turnovers, all those fumbles?
Yeah, he lost all of
Oh
them.
wow.
Yeah, those are killers in big games like that.
That's a big difference.
yeah. And then you look at Louisiana Tech, man, who's got Mississippi State. I mean, they blow a lead on that. Like they looked good, you know. So you got to be like, wow, you know, La Tech looked pretty good, but then to blow a lead like that is so disappointing.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And it can almost, I mean, at times that can snowball and,
yeah,
you know, carry over to your next game and then your next, you know. So hopefully they can look at the good and then fix the bad and you know, win the next game.
yeah. And then, you know, we all have to take ownership of it. We're not going to just skip past it.
Yep.
The Raging Cajuns, man. Zeke.
Crawfish, baby.
That baby got boiled.
The crawfish got boiled and eaten by the Texans, stomped on by the Longhorns. My God.
Yeah, and the worst part about it, to be frank, is I don't think Texas is that good. I think Louisiana just, I mean, they laid an egg, man.
Yeah,
and I don't know what it is.
I was surprised their defense, man. I just thought they had a bunch of guys coming back, and everyone has a bad night, and it could have been that, but they were getting handled. It was disappointing.
Yeah, they were outsized. They were getting manhandled, and it's disappointing to see because we expected Louisiana and Billy Napier's offense to be a little more electric, but you know, still some good talent there in the Cajuns, but not what we expected.
Yeah. I mean, they're still going to be probably battling for a Sun Belt championship. They probably still rattle off 9, 10, 11 wins, but that was a tough one to swallow because I've been running my mouth all summer about that game. I don't know. Maybe Texas is back finally, but we'll see. Well, let's look at some of these week 2 games. There's a lot of them. A bunch more Group of 5 Power 5 games. We'll run through, make some picks, and then we got a couple games of the week that we'll go through. So first one, you got Miami of Ohio at Minnesota. Jeff, who you got?
I got Minnesota.
Zeke?
Minnesota.
Tip.
Yeah, I'm going Minnesota as well.
Here's one that a week ago we probably all had different answers for. Tulsa at Oklahoma State.
I mean, I had in my previews, I had Tulsa losing. Wish I would have taken them losing last week.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I got Minnesota too. I don't think I was not trying to avoid that pick. Zeke, you got Tulsa or Oklahoma State?
Got Oklahoma State at 13.5. They really rubbed me wrong after they butchered our parlays. So
yeah. Tip.
Yeah, I'm also going with Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Same here.
Do we have Grisham's pick for that game? I'm just curious if he's still going with Tulsa or if he's going with Oklahoma State.
He said that it was, a family event that he had to attend, but maybe he's just hiding out after telling us Tulsa was gonna represent the Group of Five in the New Year's games this year. You got Florida at South Florida. It's interesting on them going over to Tampa. Jeff, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida's just. I mean, South Florida, they did not look good against North Carolina State. So
no, they did not.
I don't know what the spread is on that game, but I'm probably taking Florida.
Yeah.
29.5.
Zeke, you taking it?
29. I'm sorry.
I probably am.
I'm taking Florida, and they cover 29.
Yeah.
That offense, they couldn't do anything.
Florida big in this game.
Yeah, South Florida, man, I was wrong about them. I mean, they still have athletes on the team. I think the worst part about that is Florida fans are going to take over that stadium, and it's going to be, a virtual home game for them. South Florida's really missing their quarterback Flowers from last year. He was the only thing they really had, so they'll struggle big time. Middle Tennessee at Virginia Tech. Murph?
I'm calling an upset here, Sprouse. The Blue Raiders of Murfreesboro, Tennessee are going in to Blacksburg and going to beat the Hokies.
Wow. I hope so. Zeke?
I got Virginia Tech, but I think the Blue Raiders cover 15.5. They cover 19. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Tip?
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech has too much momentum coming in from that big win last week. So I got Virginia Tech winning.
Yeah, I like it, Zeke. It's kind of a trap game for Virginia Tech, as the experts will say. Blue Raiders, I mean, they put up 50 points last week. I know it was an FCS school, and they scored in all three special defense and offense. I think Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, man, everyone saw the video when they entered with Enter Sandman. I mean,
one of the best entrances in college football for sure. But let me say this: the Blue Raiders. I'm a homer. Don't get it twisted. And we saw them on Saturday. Me, Tip, and Zeke. And Hockman looked good, man. He looked good pushing the ball down the field. I like it. Again, the size is going to be an issue, but MTSU, man, they're due for an upset.
Monmouth
for a big upset.
Monmouth up front, their up front was about as big as MTSU. So be that as it may, there's a smaller school, but size wise, I think MTSU had just like Coach Stock said in last week's interview, they had equally in size there. So it was a decent showing for them to be able to put up 50 points.
Yep. Toledo at Notre Dame. Jeff?
I think the Fighting Irish take down Toledo.
Zeke?
Fighting Irish, baby.
Tip?
Yeah, I got Notre Dame.
I got Notre Dame as well. UAB at Georgia. Jeff?
Georgia wins. Georgia's a really good football team. I mean, they're big. They're great in all phases of the game. But I'm interested to watch UAB's defense because they have a really good defense. And see if they can at least hold Georgia a little bit and not just be, have the floodgates, running wide open. So I think this would be a good test for UAB and see how well they can play against a big team. But Georgia.
Zeke?
This has murder written all over it. 26, Georgia, UAB, we watched them play last week. They are a good football team, but the Georgia Bulldogs are bigger, faster, stronger, and I just don't think there's any way that they can hang with them.
Yeah.
They do have a good defense, but it's not happening. I say the line's at 26. I say Georgia covers 31.
Tip.
Yeah, I got Georgia in this one, and from a betting aspect at 26, I'm honestly probably not gonna. I wouldn't touch this one.
Yeah, I got Georgia. They're it's gonna be tough for anybody to score on them all year. Ball State at Penn State. Murph.
Penn State.
Zeke.
Penn State, baby.
Tip.
Cover
Yeah,
22.
Yeah, I got Penn State big.
Penn State. Like this one a lot. Buffalo at Nebraska. Murph.
I think Buffalo beats them.
Yeah. Zeke.
I think this is a group of 5, Power 5 upset.
Agreed.
I think Buffalo covers 13.5. Not sure if I'm ready for the money line yet.
Tip.
I'm gonna have to go Nebraska, but I think Buffalo covers.
No. I'll be honest with you. I think Buffalo is going to beat them pretty soundly. Buffalo, dude. Buffalo rushed for 300+ yards last week.
Yeah.
They lost Patterson last year and their coach, and they picked up right where they left off. I mean, I know they were playing. I think Wagner.
Yeah.
They put up almost 70 points, 300+ yards rushing. They're the real deal up front now, and they got. I think they had 3 backs pushing close to 100 yards too. So
Yep, sure did.
I like Buffalo in that game.
Sprouse, I'm changing my pick. Buffalo. Scott Frost gets fired
Immediately
Yes.
in the locker room. Wow.
Yes. Before he gets to the locker room.
Introducing Alabama offensive analyst Scott Frost.
Yeah.
Eastern Michigan at Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin beats them.
Zeke.
Tony Romo. No, that was Eastern Illinois. I'm sorry. Edit that, Murph. Wisconsin.
Tip.
Yeah, I got Wisconsin big.
Yeah. Georgia State at North Carolina.
As much as I want to take Georgia State, I think North Carolina beats them.
Zeke.
Georgia State broke my heart last week. What WTF happened? I guess some things got out of whack against Army. I don't know, but I love Georgia State, but I don't know what happened last week. I still got a little faith. North Carolina beats them, but I think they put up a fight. Cornelius Brown, baby.
Tip.
North Carolina is pissed this week, and they win big.
Yeah, I like North Carolina. Here is a game that, wow. Vanderbilt at Colorado State. Murph.
I mean, talk about a terrible football team. Vanderbilt.
Hey, No. They are in the SEC, Jeff. They must be good, I thought. Power 5. It just means more.
It ain't more. It
meant more to ETSU.
Yeah, Colorado State. I think Colorado State's not a bad team now, and I think Vanderbilt, man. I mean, they're traveling to Colorado State after a loss like that. I don't know. I'm gonna take Colorado State, honestly.
Zeke.
Vanderbilt is swag bear certified and atrocious, and that Colorado State covers 7, and they're part of this parlay. I'm gonna rattle off a little bit at the end of this.
Tip.
Yeah, I have Colorado State, and I think they cover.
I like Colorado State as well. San Diego State at Arizona. Murph.
This is a tough one. San Diego State has a really good defense, but I think Arizona comes out on top. But what's the line on this?
It's -1. It's basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's basically it could go either way, man. But being at Arizona, I give Arizona the nod.
Zeke.
I'm going San Diego State. I like the defense, and I think Arizona may want to sling it around a little bit. San Diego State capitalizes on some turnovers, baby.
I like it. Tip.
Yeah, I have San Diego State as well.
I like San Diego State too. Man, UNLV at Arizona State. UNLV, they took a tough one. Now, granted, okay, Eastern Washington is one of the best FCS programs in the country. So,
yeah,
not to discredit them at all, but that's a tough loss for UNLV. But they go to Arizona State. Jeff, who you got?
I got Arizona State.
Zeke.
Yeah, that's a lot of points to cover, 32.5. But yeah, gonna have to go with them.
All right,
Martell.
He's not on the roster anymore, by the way, from what I understand. Tip, who you got?
I got Arizona State big.
Yeah, I do too. Hawaii at Oregon State. Murph,
I got the Beavers.
Zeke.
Yeah, the Beavers. Hawaii's disappointing me. They
Yeah.
cover 11.
Tip.
Yeah, Hawaii does not play very well on the road. So I'm got Oregon State.
I got Oregon State as well. Moving on to Group of 5 versus Group of 5 games. UTEP at Boise State. Murph.
I think the Broncos handle them pretty easy.
Zeke.
Boise, and they cover 26.
Tip.
Yeah, I agree. Boise State, they cover.
Yeah, I like Boise pretty big on that. Interesting game here. Western Kentucky at Army. Jeff.
Being that it's at Army, man, this is tough for me because I watched Zappy, and he was slinging the ball around. They were in a lot of 5 wides.
7 touchdowns.
Yeah, they were in a lot of 5 wides, man. I'm gonna take Western Kentucky in this. I think just spreading Army out, getting them running all across the field is gonna tire them out.
Zeke, what you got?
Yeah, I'm with Murph, and Tips can elaborate a little bit. He was the one. He and I were talking before y'all got on, but I'm gonna go Western Kentucky money line. It's at 6.5. Army. Army looked great last week, but I've got him in a parlay to cover that 6.5. So looking forward to the game.
Tip.
I think this game will be won or lost based on if Western Kentucky can stop Army running the football.
Yep.
Army threw the ball only 4 times last week and ran it 50, 60 something times. I got Western Kentucky beating them.
Yeah, anytime you play an option team, it's really just a matter of can you stop it or not. And if you can't, you're in for a long day. And if you can, you're probably going to beat them. And then if Western's slinging it around like that, if they get up, you get up 2 scores on them, you can pretty much call it a day.
Yeah, it's hard for them to catch up.
So we'll see.
They got to change their whole offensive scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, you get up 2 touchdowns, and now they got to sling it. It's like, well, we don't do that. We run it 70 times a game.
Yeah. I like Western in that game. We'll see on that. Wyoming at Northern Illinois. I think both of these teams were kind of opposite of how we expected them to be. Jeff, who you got?
I got Wyoming. I think Wyoming has a better showing week 2.
Zeke?
Yeah, Wyoming. Get after them Cowboys. I think NIU had a great showing last week, but Cowboys saddle up, rope them, hog tie them.
Saddles and cattles, baby.
Saddles and cattles, baby.
Tip, who you got?
I got to go with that. I'm going with Wyoming.
I'm down in the pick'em on the year so far by a game or 2 to all you guys. I'm taking the Huskies. Georgia Southern at Florida Atlantic. A little Sun Belt Conference USA action. Murph, who you got?
This is an interesting game. Chad Lunsford going to FAU. I think this could go either way, honestly. I'm gonna go Georgia Southern just because he fired me up a couple weeks back.
I like it. Zeke?
Chad, you broke my heart last week. You still won. I appreciate you, but I'm going against you. FAU, they cover 7. Sorry about you.
Tip?
Yeah, FAU at home. I'm going to go with FAU.
Yeah, it's a tough one to read because, Georgia Southern won. They didn't look great. And then FAU lost relatively big to Florida. So it's kind of hard to tell. I'm going to go Georgia Southern just because I like Georgia Southern. And I want Cole Swindell to put a Group of 5 guys hoodie on.
No
so
question.
maybe we make that deal right now. If you're watching Cole, Georgia Southern wins, you wear a hoodie. Book it. You got Temple at Akron. Grisham saw Temple at Rutgers this weekend, and man,
oh boy.
Yeah, rough showing for Temple. And Akron, they were at Auburn, and they didn't look good. Murph, who you got?
I mean, I think this is just a toss-up. Honestly, I'm gonna go with Akron. I think Temple looked pitiful against Rutgers.
Yeah, Zeke.
I couldn't even tell you on this one. Look, my temple is hurting even thinking about it. So, fuck it. Let's go Temple 6.5.
Tip.
Whenever I look at these toss-up games like this, I have to look at the line. Temple 6.5. There's a reason Vegas has all those big buildings out there because they make a lot of money.
Look, they set some snares out there too. Those sharks
I'm
do.
talking about these money lines, like these, like these favorites, these teams that are the favorites. So I'm going with Vegas on this one. I'm gonna go with Temple.
Yeah, I like Temple in this one. South Alabama at Bowling Green. Murph.
Bowling Green put up a little fight against the Volunteers last week. I'm gonna go Bowling Green.
Zeke.
South Alabama, the line is 15. I like Tip and I talked before. I think it's a 2-touchdown game, so I think maybe 13.5. But I also think South Alabama moves up in the Sun Belt. They scored some points last week, but Bowling Green, they did okay against UT, but South Alabama's looking pretty good.
I mean, I thought Tennessee was back according to all the Twitter pages, and they sure didn't cover.
No, they did not cover, and they honestly, it was tight for a while.
If you listened to me last week, you would have won some money.
Sure would have.
We all know why that line was moving from 34.5 all the way up to 37 because all the Vol fans were betting they were back.
Tip, who you got? South Alabama at Bowling Green.
I got South Alabama in this one.
Yeah, I like South Alabama. I'm not going against them twice in a row. Houston, they blew one too with Texas Tech. Houston at Rice. Murph, who you got?
I think Houston handles them.
Zeke?
Houston big. Cover, -8.
Tip?
Yeah, I got Houston covering.
Yep, Houston. Texas State at FIU. Murph?
I think FIU at home.
Zeke?
Yeah, FIU. That's just a pick 'em.
Tip?
Yeah, I got FIU at home.
I'm going to take FIU on this one.
Home cooking.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, only because that's right. Only because Bryn Renner has a Group of 5 guys hoodie.
Hell yeah.
Little rivalry action. North Texas at SMU. Murph, who you got?
I think SMU.
Zeke?
SMU. Fast, hard.
Tip?
Yeah, I got SMU.
I got SMU big. New Mexico State at New Mexico. Murph?
I'm going to take New Mexico on this one.
Zeke?
I mean, New Mexico State, I hate to just kick a man while he's down, but my God, these boys are bad and bad in a bad way.
You notice I could go my record go either way. I just said New Mexico. You don't know which one I'm talking about.
Well, New Mexico State is the one that all you guys thought were going to beat UTEP in week 0 in the Battle of I-10, and they did not. I like New Mexico.
That was my
regular New Mexico. Tip, who you got?
I like New Mexico as well. I think they cover the 18.5.
Yeah. South Carolina at East Carolina. Murph?
South Carolina.
Zeke?
I mean, what the hell is this? This is the weirdest thing ever. You've got ECU -2, and App State just whipped that ass. And you're telling me South Carolina's not big enough to push ECU around. I love the faith in the Group of 5 team, but I just think South Carolina pushes them around.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Tip?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I got South Carolina.
I like South Carolina real close. Real good game. Going into our top 4 games of the week here. Couple interesting ones. You got Memphis at Arkansas State. Murph?
Man, I'm going to take Arkansas State. They put up a lot of points last week, and that offense was humming. So I think it's going to be a little too much for Memphis.
Zeke?
Yeah, I like that. I like the Arkansas State at least to cover 5 points. Going back to what Murph said, they threw it around a lot, and
they're home
Memphis, I don't really see You know, them being as in sync as they have in the past couple of years. And that stadium, we all said,
Yeah.
you know, we all know what that stadium does. So Arkansas State.
Tip.
I like it. I'll roll with you boys. I'll go with Arkansas State.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think kind of as a whole, as a program, I think Arkansas State is on the rise. I think Memphis is kind of a little bit on the decline right now. So I'll take the Red Wolves there. You got the Liberty Flames going to Troy. Murph, who you got?
I'll take the Liberty Flames.
Zeke?
Too hot to handle, baby. Them Flames are coming in, scorching them Trojans.
Tip.
I got Liberty. They're favored by 5. I think they cover.
I like Troy.
Really?
I like Troy, man. I think they're one of those. We talked about them being one of those Sun Belt teams that could burn somebody, and I think they show up, and I think they give old Malik Willis a tough time at Liberty.
Have you seen Liberty's quarterback? He is a bad man.
He's a good player. He's a good player. Hey, it's all right. Troy's got what's his name? Carlton Marshall. He's a ball player now. I saw the Reese's Senior Bowl people were watching him the other day, and they just had a little drill he was doing. Looks like a problem. Looks like he's tough to block. I can tell you that. I think Zeke may like this upset. We got Appalachian State at Miami. Murph, I'll start with you. Zeke, I'm going to go to you last.
As much as App State impressed me last week, I mean, their defense looked great. Chase Bryce looked really, really good in the pocket, throwing the ball. You could tell he knew what he was looking at, and he was throwing some strikes out there too. Man, I want to take him, but I think Miami coming, off that tough loss. I think Miami wins.
Tip.
I got App State. I think Chase Bryce, like Murph said, looked really good. They had 2 running backs last week, and Nate Noel and Cameron Peoples. Both of them rushed for over 100 yards last week. I think they just run the ball really well, effectively on Miami. So I'm taking App State. Yeah,
I said this in the preseason. What happens to teams after they play Alabama is they just get so demoralized. And Miami is traditionally a front-running team. So had they somehow beaten Alabama or even probably played them tight, I'd probably go the other way because they'd have a ton of momentum. And when they have momentum, they capitalize. But when they have momentum against them, they start cheap shotting people. This is a typical Miami team that, all of us probably grew up watching, except for they're not good. So I got App State in this game. Zeke?
App State, money line. Miami's favored by 8. The App State defense is tough. You saw what they did to ECU. I know that's not Miami, but Miami's quarterback, I think, is overrated. He's rattled from the Bama loss. He's coming into one of the toughest defenses. Their rank, 20-something? Well, that is all about their defense. They're gonna come in and disrupt, and Chase Bryce is going to turn around. He's been facing that defense all through camp, one of the top defenses in the league. So he's going to be ready. He's got a ton of experience, and they're going to come in. They're going to win this ball game. So if you're looking for a lock or an upset of the week and you're just looking for it, turn your volume up. App State, money line, Miami. That's it.
I love it. I'm right there with you on that. Game of the week, just because we got to the interview with Jason Kons and Nick DeJulio, former Air Force guys. Air Force is at Navy. Pretty cool deal on 9/11, 20th anniversary. It's gonna be probably pretty emotional. Those guys in the interview are going to talk about it a little bit, being that it's the 9/11 anniversary, and we just kind of got our footprint out of Afghanistan. So that game's going to be pretty special. Murph, who you got?
Falcons, baby. I think they handle them.
Zeke?
I always like the folks that come on our podcast, but, I gotta stick with them. I thought Navy may put up a fight, but I'm going with Air Force boys.
It's
Salute
a rivalry game, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tip.
Yeah, I think it'll be close first half, maybe even through the first 3 quarters. But I'm going to go with Air Force. I think they end up winning it.
And Navy got waxed by Marshall.
Yeah, they sure did. I think similar to in the way that I think Memphis is kind of on the decline as a program. Navy seems like they hit a ceiling and they're kind of going back down. And I think Air Force and Army are the 2 best service academies right now. But I can't go against my boys here. I got Air Force big. I think Tip's with you. 2 option schools. So it'll be tight. It's not going to be probably a whole lot of scoring. They're both used to it. The scout team's just going to run their own offense all week long. So it's really just going to be about who executes the best. I like Air Force in it. But let's see. Let's get to the interview. We got defensive lineman Nick DeJulio, offensive lineman Jason Kons, class of 2013 Air Force Academy graduates. Murph, let's get to the interview. We have a couple outstanding guests on the show today. 2 of my great friends from back in the playing days. We've got 2 Air Force Falcon legends, defensive lineman Nick DeJulio, offensive lineman Jason Kons. Nick, Konzi, what's happening, fellas?
What's up, brother? Thanks for having us on the show, man. Look forward to chatting with you guys and making fun of Konzi on the way.
Ross, thanks for having us on, man. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it, but it's pretty great. And I got to see you this weekend. So good, following this up on the podcast as well. So
yeah, man. Great catching up with you. For those of you that are going to be watching the show, Kons here is having some technical difficulties. We spent about 45 minutes trying to get his video to work, and we have not figured it out. So you'll get the still picture action shot of the old Thunderbird Air Force uniforms there. So pretty sweet deal.
And it's a great stance he's got right there. He's ready, firing off, ready to go.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I think that one was maybe a little bit of a play action, or maybe I'm thinking more of a screen pass, getting a good pass set going, and going downfield to take an ACL. So I'm probably licking my chops to do there.
I like it.
Oh man, well, guys, we'll start it out. My first question is, and I've got an answer for this too. 3 guys from Oakland Park, Florida, Nick from Overland Park, Kansas, and Kons from Germantown, Wisconsin, Marquette High School. How we end up, I haven't seen you guys in, I don't know, 12 years for Nick, and then a couple of days, but before that, a few years for Konzi. How do we remain great friends? What is it about Air Force that does that to people?
I think bottom line, I'm jumping in right into this. I'm cutting Nick off. It's the fabric, it's durability, it's toughness, it's grit, it's attached a love of the game. And I'm going to do this on the podcast because no one else will. I know Nick won't do it for himself, but I mean, Nick and I have been great friends since the P. We all have, but Nick found himself in a spot where had a lot of Division I talent coming after him, coaches recruiting him, blows out his knee, and then has a coach that was at Kansas State go to Air Force and says, hey, you should come to Air Force and play there. And Nick takes him up on the offer after not playing any high school ball, goes to the prep school, blows out his knee again, sticks with it, stays with the program, buys in, and finds a way to be a contributor and be an asset, and finds himself starting as a defensive lineman his junior and senior year. But that just in and of itself defines grittiness, toughness, and I think that's what brought us all to do something a little bit different at the Air Force Academy, and to kind of find ourselves all the same kind of thread in the same kind of fabric. You know what I mean?
Nick, you want to try to top that answer right there?
Jesus, Konzi,
yeah, good luck, Nick.
Hold on, let me get a tissue here, bro. Like, just the ultimate hype guy. I just need to bring you along everywhere I go, from now on. But no, man, yeah, it's easy to climb back when you got a good role model to look up to, and a guy standing next to you. You know what I mean? And, it's a testament to Jason. I mean, the dude is my firstborn's godfather, man. Like, and that just talks to what Konzi's talking about, is that grit. That same cloth that we're all kind of cut from, and it just gels, man. And we all understand the grind. So I'm sure you'll probably hear Konzi and I talk about that, but You know, it's just something. It's just something that you can't teach, and you just got it inherently in you. And, you know, it's what motivates you to wake up at 4 a.m. and crush that gym session. You know what I mean,
Right.
Sprousey?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I mean, and I think for me, you know, obviously I didn't make it through the full term there at the old academy. I had some circumstances come up, but I mean, I think when you go through something that's difficult and you make it out the other side together, I think that's a bond that, you know, all locker rooms are tight. I mean, you know, I got Jeff on here from the Middle Tennessee locker room, and like we're boys. But I think what's different about going to the Air Force Academy, or probably the same at the Naval Academy or West Point or whatever, is like you do basic training together for us prep school guys twice. And then your academic year is just so intense, borderline Ivy League. And then you also got your military training, and then you go on to Division I football practice and weights and film and everything like that. So you guys talked about that grind. It's just like, it's on another level. And then you get through on the other side of that. It's a pretty tight bond to have.
Yeah, for sure. And you hit the nail on the head, Sprouse, because just any locker room is tight, I think, because it's like building a tribe. Everyone goes through their own experiences. The more unique that experience is, I think the tighter that tribe, the tougher that experience is, the harder and longer. You know, that's why even, you know, you can boil it down to even the most elite of our defense force. I mean, the SEALs or Green Berets, you know, the tougher, longer that those experiences are, the tighter those guys are for life. And I think those service academies have kind of the right recipe of challenging physically, academically, and then also just your own goal-orientated goals, which, of course, playing Division I football, that draws a whole nother caliber of athlete and human being to those schools, and just creates tighter bonds, just like you're saying.
Yeah, and hey, man, I'm gonna totally jump in here, and you know, I know if we're trying to go to other questions, just tell me to shut up. But I think it just speaks to sports in general, man. Like beyond you know, the academies and things like that, military service, like the stuff sports teaches you, especially when you play, you know, at a highly competitive level, like a Division I sport. I mean, shit, Jeff, I met you what 5-10 minutes, or I guess since Konzi fucked up an hour ago. But man, I feel like I already picked up some stuff about you. You know, just having that mutual respect to having playing that sport, right? And
100%.
Because I'm sure both of you know, right? Like the grind is, oh shit, another Saturday practice in the off season. Like fuck this, I do not want, you know, like
Yeah.
But you get your ass up, you put the pads on, and you go do it, and you survive through it, man. Maybe it wasn't your best practice, you know. Maybe you sucked. Maybe you're third string, and coach is screaming at you, telling you you're fat and slow as shit. I can tell you from experience. Thanks, Coach Wallerstead. But yeah, man, you just grind through it, and you survive together. You know what I mean? And that's where that bond just is totally made.
For sure. And I think it's all about sacrifice too. I mean, you guys obviously understand that more than most people, but that's, you know, to sports, and especially, you know, Division I football, you know, the amount of time and you sacrifice, and your body you sacrifice, and just for the greater good of the team and your buddies. Like, and as a quarterback for me, I mean, literally my 5 offensive linemen are sacrificing their body so I don't get touched. So that's, I mean, it just creates a brotherhood, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
but
man.
So, I mean, talking about, you know, the Air Force Academy, so I've always heard some pretty funny stories from old Sprouse, but what's kind of like the rundown of the schedule, you know, of a academy athlete?
Kons, you still got enough brain cells left to cover that one?
Yeah, I think I can jump in there. It's been a while, but no, it's challenging. It's strenuous. There's a lot to it, especially I think specifically in season. You know, and again, already at a place where there's kind of a little higher level of sacrifice we just talked about for, you know, cadets going to the academy. There's basic training in the summertime. There's extended class hours, different programs you're in. But then on top of that, the athlete waking up early, going to film in the morning, going to breakfast, classes all morning, lunch around noon, then back down to the field house, probably some more film work in the weight room, on the field. And by that time, after you're getting some treatment, whatever, getting in the ice baths, getting looked at by the trainers, back into uniform, and then back up to we called it the hill. The way the academy was kind of set up, you walk down about probably a half mile down to the field house. Then at the end of the day, you got to walk back up to the top and go to Mitch's, which is like the 1 acre indoor facility that all the cadets eat together. And of course, football players usually get up there around closing time. So you're eating usually whatever's left over from the rest of the cadet wing, scarf it down, and then you're doing homework until, pretty late at night, way past Sprouse's bedtime, and then waking up early again the next day. And that's where you get back to you just got to show up, long days, hard days, bad grades. You didn't grade out that well on film, coaches down your neck. All these things add up, all these variables, but you got to find a way to wake up the next day and just get it done, But it's a strenuous schedule. It's tough. The class load's big. Just seems to be relentless.
Yeah, man, and it's definitely a grind. And like Konzi, you as a freshman dressed and traveled and everything, didn't you?
I did dress. I traveled for the last few games, but I dressed as a freshman.
So it's interesting. I was going to ask, and it doesn't happen very often unless you're a super stud like Kons was, but like you got to remember too, like as a freshman coming in, where at most schools you're going to show up for camp or probably the last month or two of off-season workouts, but at the academy you show up, you're right into basic training. So then if you're a big guy like all of us three were, you're going to probably lose a ton of weight, and then you're going to show up like first day of classes and be, 15, 20 pounds down after spending, I don't know what it was, 2 months of basic training, I think. And then you're right into the weight room, like right into eating, trying to scarf down a loaf of bread at night that they left for you at Mitchell Hall. But, so like, I don't know, Kons, since you were able to, like, what was it like just coming in as a young guy, like coming off basic training, and then you're like right into the fire trying to keep up with, the upperclassmen and film and weights and everything like that?
No, I loved it. I mean, it was definitely, I think I had a leg up from the rest of the freshmen that came in with our class, because like you guys know, we went to the prep school together. So I feel like I kind of knew a little bit of the offense. But then at the end of the day, I just came in hungry and wanted to just be an asset, just try to be a contributor any way I could. And I still remember going into those practices, in the first little bit of fall camp where they had the freshmen separate from the varsity. You're kind of going through. I was jumping in every position. I was snapping the ball. I was playing guard. I was playing tackle, just because in my mind, I figured if there was ever going to be a freshman to try to get up there with the big boys, I knew I wasn't going to be, any kind of star physically. Like you just talked about, you just endured basic training, and you probably lost a step as far as, football goes, but just find a way to be an asset, find a way to pay attention, and get in there and kind of be that all around number 2 guy across the whole offensive line. And it helped me, inevitably, because going forward, I kind of knew every position on the line, because as a freshman, I was trying to be the number 2 guy across the whole place. So as I played left tackle and kind of matured in that position and developed, I also understood what the rest of the line was trying to do and all the assignments, all the jobs across. So it made me a better player, better teammate. And then I think my football IQ on the line just got better.
Kons, they need to call you up to give a pregame speech
100%.
before the like, I'm getting fired up right now. I can't even see you. I know I saw you this weekend. You got me fired up. But you might need to call old Calhoun and see if he'll let you give a speech pregame this week.
Brother, I love it. I love talk stuff. I love talking football. It's a passion of mine. Everybody and their brother. I've talked to so many people. I even talked to, a couple young ones in high school and their families, but having them go play sports in college. It's just such a necessity, just go do it. And even when they come back and say, well, what about what if they blow out their knee, or they get a concussion, or they, and they do this, or it's a drain from their academics. My biggest answer is it's a window in time to go and really invest a whole lot of yourself for the team and for something bigger than yourself. And you can't do it for the rest of your life. So take advantage of it. Learn the lessons you can as an 18 to 23-year-old young man and young woman, and just go through the wall. Just drive everything you got and throw it in and try to learn how to be an asset. And those lessons there, that will outweigh anything you learn in the classroom, anything. So I love it. Sprouse, you've known that. I mean, we talked about it all weekend. I can't get enough of it, but it's the truth, So anyway, just a way to be a contributor and stick with it,
I'll tell you what, I'm ready to run through a brick wall. This guy's got me fired up over here.
Jeff, can you run the option?
I can. I ran in high school a little bit, so I can do it.
Well, we'll switch gears a little bit to talk about Navy. So we'll start with you, Nick. What's your favorite Air Force Navy memory?
Oh, I mean, hands down, I'm sure this will be for Konzi too, but Konzi, we beat him junior year out at Navy.
Yeah, junior year out at Navy.
And just a fucking slugfest, man. I think we played over like 100 defensive snaps. Oof. And we played almost the entire last like 8 minutes of the fourth quarter in that game. And dude, I've never been beat up after a game like that. I legit, I had muscles in places that I didn't know existed, right? And like I could hardly sit down in the toilet to wipe my ass because, in the academy rivalry games, man, it's just option versus option, ACL tear versus ACL tear. So you're just slogging through the mud, man, just trying to survive. But we ended up coming out with a W there. Alex Means, shout out to him, blocked a pretty crucial extra point in that game. Yeah. And it was cool, man, too, because like we all contributed, right? And especially Kons and I, as kind of close group of friends. I think that was a big game for all of us, and it was really cool bringing that W home. And then kind of side note story, man, is Kons, did you remember this? The referee deal?
In Annapolis?
There? Yeah.
In Annapolis?
So before the game, I'm just chatting up the referee, right? And we just were talking, man. I was like, hey, take it easy on us today, kind of deal, whatever. And the dude was like, you from Overland Park? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, my kids go to St. Thomas Aquinas, not the one in Florida, but there's one in Kansas City, which was like a rival high school of mine. And I was like, no shit, man. The school was like 4 miles down the road from my house back home, and so I was like, yeah, just look out for us. And then we kind of went our ways, and right there at the end of the fourth quarter, Navy ran the ball in for a touchdown, and there was a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Some dude just like straight up uppercut me while I was standing in the end zone. And so that dude, the same exact dude I'd been chatting up before the game, ended up throwing that flag. And so it backed the penalty kick up, or the backed extra point up, and Means ended up blocking.
That's the one he blocked.
So it's kind of interesting story, man. It was cool.
That's a pretty cool deal. Kons, is that the same game? Your favorite memory?
Yeah, definitely. I think, before that, there was kind of a dry spell. We won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy back our sophomore year, which was a great win as well. But I think the one on the road in Annapolis, slugfest, double overtime, and like Nick said, played like an absolute brawl. Over 100 snaps of defense. I think we had like 60 or 70 snaps on offense, just true triple option, just run the ball as many times as you possibly can and try to get it done. But really, really a great game. And then the topper was, because even when you play those great games, sometimes you almost feel like you're just happy to be part of it because it's so damn good. And at that point, like, I think both teams have mutual respect for each other, but there's always a good last little measure when you get the W. And nothing was sweeter than coming home from Annapolis, that one with the win, and then going on later and beating Army to finish it off.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it made the whole season. Those two non-conference games for us are kind of like our Super Bowl. So those are big, and yeah, just going on the road, enemy territory, taking it home, can't beat it.
Yeah, and Kons, I think you'll probably agree with this. But too, man, sure, you'll remember some of the plays or whatever, right? And you'll remember some of the circumstances in the games, but just like Kanzi was talking about, just the elation of every single person on the field, whether that was a dude who started or one of the equipment guys on the side of the field, man, getting back on that airplane and traveling back to Colorado Springs that night was one of the greatest memories I'll ever have, man. Just like there wasn't a single person on that fucking plane without a grin from ear to ear, and you could just see the passion and the dedication that everybody had put into winning that game. Across the board, regardless if you were a player, fan, or coach, it was just an awesome experience to be a part of, man.
That's awesome. So, quick question. So, my knowledge on all the rivalries is a little bit limited. So, the Commander-in-Chief Trophy, that's when Air Force plays Army, right?
And Navy.
It's between all
And
three
Navy.
services.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. How special is it, winning that? I mean, that's like a huge honor, right?
Absolutely. Look, I'll be one to jump in on this. Like it, and I know I speak for Nick on this too, but I want to say it was our junior year, maybe our sophomore, Nick. I'm not sure, but they did a documentary on the greatest game or like the greatest rivalry ever, and it was or the game of honor, whatever it was, but it was about the Army Navy game and how how great it was, the storied rivalry. How amazing it is.
Yeah, the thing about America's game.
America's
Jeff,
game.
don't you dare say America's game. Please don't. Please do not say it.
But the best part is the year they did the documentary, I want to say it was our junior year. We beat both of them, so they did all this, they invested all this time in going to West Point and Annapolis, and my hat's off to those guys. I mean, brothers at arms, love them to death, but also I ain't afraid to give them an upcut if they deserve one, and they always do. So at the end of the day, like, they put all this time and effort to showcase these two academies, and they did a wonderful job. And then Air Force kind of got like a small 5-minute excerpt like twice in the show for our
talking about how we had the most
both
Commander-in-Chief's trophy under their breath,
right. And like, so the fact that we bring it home more often, we beat the shit out of Navy, we beat the shit out of Army, and we brought it home, and your guys are basically doing a documentary about who's going to win second place. Yeah, go ahead and waste your time. But if you want to see what the real players are, come to Colorado Springs, because that's where they are.
How cool is it this year that you do get Air Force Navy on September 11th, 20-year anniversary?
Great.
I mean, how cool is that? Start with
great.
Yeah, Kons.
I think it's great. I think they hit the nail on the head as far as scheduling. They got it right. I think I don't think you're going to find two more teams play more intensely or more passionately on a day that means so much to the country. So, and a day of remembrance, right? And as we just closed out our footprint in Afghanistan, that all started 20 years ago. But a lot of these guys that are playing, a lot of their families, a lot of their friends have invested heavily in that region of the world, and it does not go softly. So they're going to play hard, and they're going to go do what they do best. They're going to go, try to bring home a W on a day that's going to be remembered very patriotically and very solemnly, I think, this year. So it'll be a great atmosphere. They got it right. It's a win for NCAA football.
Nick, you want to top that again?
Yeah, no, man, I'm like, I'm kind of at a loss for words thinking about it. I mean, and some of the guys who are playing in that game, might not understand the levity of what that day represents and what they're doing on the field, right? Hey, it's just another football game. It's it's the second game of the year. We're competing for a Commanders-in-Chief trophy, but it's more than just a football game, right? Those dudes are and have made a commitment to serve their nation. You know, they may not realize what that means now, but I know Kons and I, looking back, you know, we took some of that stuff for granted, right? And it's just a great illustration of how great this country is, man. You got 22 players on the field willing to die for their country on a special day that means, you know, more than any one of us could put words to, right? And they're out there playing the game we love, representing the flag, you know, better than we could want. So it's just, I don't know, man. I wish I had thought about it more, you know, because it kind of brings up a lot of emotions in me, and like Kanzi said, especially after we've kind of ended our chapter in Afghanistan, man. It's got special meanings this time around.
Definitely. And I don't know if I'm not sure if this is accurate, Nick. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the last time we played on 9/11 was back in 2011 when we played BYU. And they were leaving the conference, and we beat them. And that was a game where I think we were most likely projected to lose. You know, BYU is usually a perennial powerhouse in the Mountain West Conference. Their lines, you know, their offensive line versus our defensive line, they outweighed us, you know, probably 50 pounds each position, and twice over. You know, they were just that much better. But I'll never forget, you know, the night before that game, we had two firefighters from New York come up and talk to the team before we played, and it just puts an exclamation point on everything that me and Nick are talking about and what we just said. You know, they basically came in and said, "Hey, look, football's great. Football's awesome. It's camaraderie. It's brotherhood. It's sacrifice. It's learning how to be an asset and grind on. But this is going to be the least most important thing you do. You guys are going to go down. You're going to do amazing things. This game tomorrow is over because you guys have already signed a much more lethal line with your, you know, with blood that you guys are going to go forward and do great things for your country. So this game's over. BYU's got nothing on you. Go take care of business, and let's move on to Monday." And we went out and we beat the living shit out of those guys before they went out to be independent. And it was a great, you know, great send off. So I'm hoping the boys can get some motivation like that, inspiration, and just know that, yeah, while they're just playing a football game, it means much more, and they can go forward and play with some savage aggression on Saturday.
Yeah, wreak havoc.
But before we let these guys go, I got to get a Sprouse story. Sprouse is like the dad of the group, right? He like buttoned up, wakes up at 4 a.m., tucks his covers in. So I need a little dirt on Sprouse.
Matt Sprouse?
Yeah, you say Sprouse is the buttoned up one?
No
what kind of guys are you?
Yeah, exactly. That's what this is more a knock on you, Jeff, than it is on anybody else.
Look, the rest of the group of 5 guys were a bunch of degenerate gamblers for sure. So definitely, anybody got a good Sprousey story?
I was
from
a
the Air
bit
Force
immature
Academy?
at the time, so that's all I'll say.
I just remember you and like, I'll never forget like you and freaking Hendershaw showing up, man. You two chuckleheads, like. All right.
Yeah, I got you know, my two favorite probably Sprouse stories are, and there's so many of them, but like, so Nick, you really spurred my memory when you brought up Jimmy. But these two guys would show up, and you know, they came from the same high school, and you know, Florida football. This
954, right? Isn't that the area code?
That's it, baby.
Broward County. Wow,
That's it.
wow, we're amazing. Da, da, da.
Yeah,
And it's like, you know, these guys are
I've
telling
heard this
stories
before.
about playing
2A football or whatever, wasn't it?
Yeah, playing high school football, and I'm like, whatever, dude. It can't be that amazing, you know. You guys are so, and it was just, but just the way they, and every practice, you know, walking out, Sprout, oh, leather it up, you know, just getting going. At the academy, they have this saying where, you know, as you're going through basic, they keep on telling you, hey, you know, keep going, keep fighting through, don't worry. Before you know it, you'll be jumping in the fountains. And what they're referring to is when you graduate from the academy, you know, or when you're done with your last day of classes, you jump in the fountains. There's fountains up on the terrazzo. And it's the only time that like any kind of, you know, bad behavior is allowed is like, okay, yeah, the seniors are done with class. You guys can jump in the fountains, yippity skippity. But so at any rate, we're at the end of, I believe we're at the end of our freshman year. I think we finished our second semester. We were done, but it was it was known that old Sprouse wasn't coming back for his sophomore year. This was now it was no longer secret information. This was out unclassified. So Sprouse jumps out and we're both freshmen, and I'm like, Sprouse, we're jumping in that damn fountain. And so I don't know what night it was, but it was like damn near midnight, and Sprouse and I are out there in our whitey tighties, and I think like an Air Force T-shirt on, and we jumped in that stupid fountain. And Jeff, it was so freaking cold. It was freezing.
Oh God,
it was freezing.
Oh, dude, but Mr. Wisconsin just like swan dives in it, no problem over there.
Yeah, I did fully submerge. I do regret that, but I do not regret jumping in the fountain. I do.
How deep are these fountains? You guys are old linemen.
No, dude, they're like 2 feet.
Also, full disclosure, I scraped the shit out of my knees because I thought that it was deeper than that, and I came out with like blood on my forehead and like my knees were all goofed up. But me and Sprouse were like hugging each other like we just graduated, and
that's awesome.
It was pretty ridiculous, but one that I'll take that memory with me to the bank.
Man, well, Nick, Konzi, love you guys, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Obviously, thank you for your service, all that. You guys are my boys. I haven't seen you in a while, but we'll link up next time I'm down there in Florida. So, man, thanks to Nick DeJulio and Jason Kons again, Air Force Academy grads, former football players, lifelong friends of mine from the couple years I spent with those guys. So we appreciate. Obviously, we thank them for their service. Those guys are still doing it, active duty Air Force, and thanks for coming on and helping us out. I thought that was an awesome interview, and I'm excited for that game this weekend.
Yeah, it was a great interview. It was awesome being able to catch up with 2 of your old buddies, from Air Force, and got to hear a couple funny stories about old Sprouse.
Well, I have matured a bit. I mean, you guys like it is amazing that I was the delinquent of that group and I'm the mature one of this group. It just shows what kind of clown show I'm dealing with on a nightly basis.
Oh yeah,
be careful there, boy.
You guys, especially the one that's not here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get to him at some point here, but again, thanks to those guys for coming on. Before we get to Zeke's parlay of the week, I have no idea why, but I skipped a game, and it's a big game. It is another one, Group of 5 versus Power 5, Coastal Carolina, the Chants, taking on Kansas again. Murph, do they beat Kansas once again?
Yeah, I think they do. I watched that game last week, and they were playing it obviously against a sub par opponent, but that offense was rolling, man. They look good, really good.
Tip.
Yeah, I have Coastal Carolina winning that game big.
Yeah, I like Coastal pretty big as well on that. They looked better actually than I thought, even though, like you said, it was an FCS team. Zeke, are they part of your parlay this week?
I'm sorry, who was that again?
Coastal Carolina versus Kansas.
They are. I was readjusting my headset, but yeah, Coastal is part of the parlay. You want to go ahead and go into it?
Let's hear it.
I'm assuming you're taking Coastal, right, Zeke?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know that they are probably now the clear favorite in the Sun Belt since the old Raging Cajuns got boiled up.
Not after Appy State beats Miami this weekend.
That's happening. Yeah, that's happening. All right, so Western starting off with Army plus 6.5, South Alabama minus 13, Coastal 25.5, Boise 24.5, FAU covering 6.5, Houston minus 8, Colorado State over the Commodores minus 7, App State plus 8, Miami, and I'm also making a side bet on the money line because that is your upset.
Lock it.
There's one in there. If you wanted to turn this from an 8-game parlay into a 9er, there's one we talked about. Buffalo 13.5 at Nebraska. Nebraska's favored 13.5, so Buffalo covers that. If not, beats them.
I like it. How do we? If anybody knows how to do like you ever hear those like 1-800 numbers for like the lock of the week? How do we get one of those for Zeke's lock of the week? And they can call the number and speak personally to Zeke, and he will give him his lock of the week. If anybody knows how to do that,
we can work that out. There's
slide in the DMs
internet telephones. I can get that set up.
Yeah,
Google Voice, baby.
Let's get that thing rolling. But I like it, Zeke. Great show tonight, guys. For last call, I'm going to go ahead and take it this time because my co-founder of the group of 5 guys, Jesse Grisham, couldn't be with us, so I'll just take advantage of this opportunity to give his last call what it would be, and what I imagine it would be him upset of the fact that, number one, he was 1 hour late to our fantasy draft this weekend. Keep in mind that we have planned this out for probably 6 months. We've been planning out the date and time of our fantasy draft live. He shows up an hour late only. Okay. Let me just walk you through his first 3 picks of this draft.
Hold on real quick. How many mock drafts do you think this guy did?
He asked for at least 75 times prior to the draft. We know that.
He then goes on to pick 2 tight ends and a running back in the first 3 rounds. He goes Travis Kelce round 1. He goes Josh Jacobs round 2, and then he picks George Kittle round 3. And then immediately after the draft, texts every single person in our league individually and says, "Do you need a tight end?"
The cherry on top is he drafts Will Fuller, who's suspended.
and then he calls me, knowing I'm a Dolphins fan, live while we're all on the live call. And he's, "Sprouse, is Will Fuller really suspended?" Well, where it says suspended right there by it. But anyway, Grish, we love you. It's the only reason we make fun of you a little bit. But anyway, it was sorry we couldn't have him on here. I bet we would have had some great commentary.
Yeah, he'll be back next week.
Be back next week, live and in action. That's all we got, guys. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Group of 5 Guys. Join the Facebook group of 5 Guys. Watch the podcast on YouTube. Listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Pod. Gentlemen, as always, it has been a pleasure. Looking forward to a great week 2 of football, and we will talk.
Baby. Can't wait.
Talk to you all next week. We're out.